Hi everybody, welcome back to this week's update. Hope you've all had a good week. First things first, no car review this week. I know, well, some might be disappointed, some might not, but absolutely flat out at the garage. Sometimes the day job has to come first, and this week it's been one of those weeks. That's why I'm recording this on a Saturday afternoon. So, Stadium Garage. Been another busy one in the workshop. MOTs have certainly kept us on our toes. And we've seen some strange ones this week for not seeing one of these for quite a time, but we had one vehicle in the brake rollers for brake test, and one of the brake pipes, the hydraulic brake pipes, burst on test. Customers are extremely lucky. You know, if they'd have gone into an emergency situation and slammed on the brakes, they'd have had no brakes. So luckily it happened here. We've got that fixed now and it's ready for the lady to collect on Monday. Tyres. Worn out. Worn down to cords. Splits on inside edges. See the cords in the splits. All dangerous. 1, 2. Seen 7 illegal and dangerous tyres this week. Blown bulbs. I've got a red light out. Really? Yeah. You know, people, we really do need to just check us cars over. You know, they wear out funny because we don't do as tyre pressures. That's what happens. You know, they wear out because we use as cars. You know, they need changing. Bulbs blow every day. You know, I think the one that's really got me goat is the phone holders. You know, I've taken one out this week that was slap bang in the middle of the windscreen. You know, the driver must have had to look round the thing to check junctions and curbs. It's just not on. With that, we take it out. We advise we've removed it. It's not a fail, but you know, it's just surprising that people think that's actually acceptable to put your phone slap bang in the middle of the windscreen. I get it. You probably use it as your sat nav, but as part of the MOT, it's items removed from the driver's view of the road ahead. It's quite simple. Got a Jaguar F-Pace, you've probably seen it on a couple of videos this week when we've been going around the workshop. AdBlue dosing and NOx sensor issue, so NOx, so nitrous oxide. All down to AdBlue. One bit of advice here. Don't let your vehicle run out of AdBlue. It can lead to some very expensive faults. In many cases, just keeping it topped up once or every 2 or 3 months, but eventually it'll refuse to restart if you don't. And then by then the AdBlue, the bit of AdBlue that's in there will crystallise and cause issues with the pumps and the level gauges in the tanks and the injectors. And then it's just a load of trouble to sort it. So just keeping it topped up every 2 or 3 months, just fill it, just fill tank up, keep a bit in your garage and just top it up. Another interesting job Friday morning, lady came in with Fiat 500. She'd been to us before, regular customer. Engine management light on. She'd driven all the way from Grimsby. Anyway, we diagnosed the fault, and it was the timing belt. It was the timing. The engine timing was out because the timing belt had gone slack. We managed to squeeze it in. We had to work a little bit late. But we managed to squeeze it into an already busy day, and it's nice when you can give a little bit back to a regular customer and get them back on road as quick as possible. It's good to help people out when they're stuck. Doncaster Sheffield Airport. Let's move on to the airport. So we saw something completely different this week, didn't we? The runway became home to an incredible art installation as part of the worldwide Inside Out project. More than 1,000 giant black and white portraits displayed across the runway. To think that a global art project chose our runway is pretty amazing. And it's just another reminder that Doncaster Sheffield Airport continues to attract attention in ways many of us never really imagined. Right up your street, a Doncaster-based charity organised that. We also did something in the marketplace last weekend as well with a similar theme. You know, we've seen some headlines, haven't we, in the newspapers yesterday and today. DSA is running out of money. Well, of course it is. Did anyone expect there to be a money tree at the airport? I've looked all over, I can't find it. I'm still not going to have to open the garage again on Monday morning. But, you know, airport's not open yet. There's no passenger flights, there's no cargo flights. There's very little income coming in. Money's going out every day though. Staff, recruitment, training, equipment, air traffic services, fire service, maintenance, civil aviation requirements, and everything else needed to get the airport ready to reopen. That's what we've all expected over the last couple of years, really. And this project's always been about investing money now so that the airport can generate money later. The important bit seems to have been missed here, though. The business plan has always relied on the next stage of funding from SIMCA, that's South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority, and that's expected in September. Once the lease renegotiations have been completed to their satisfaction. And it's not new news. That's been the plan all along. So the real story here, is it that the current funding is running low? Or is the real story whether the lease negotiations are progressing as planned? They're two very different things. Now, if the lease is agreed on terms that satisfy SIMCA, why wouldn't they release the funding they've already committed in principle? You know, that was last September. The old MPAS hangar, or the police hangar, hangar 0 now. SIMCA board met there. You know, it was great to be part of it, sat at the front there and even got a chance to have a word to everybody, you know, had a speech to everybody about it. And it was good to be there and be part of that. But that was September. And it's still ongoing. But of course we've had the delays with the lease as well. So, you know, not with the lease, sorry. We've had delays because of the leaked lease and the re-vote on the loan decision that was made last year. I've got one question though. The airport's running out of money. How has this information found its way into the media? Once again, it appears confidential information has found its way into the press before the public has had the chance to hear it properly. Why is this? Who benefits from it? You know, councillors were briefed by officers at the council with confidential information regarding the airport, and it's getting leaked. Surely that's a story all by itself, because we've seen this happen before. I've just mentioned the lease, haven't I? Somebody leaked the lease. Why? Cause delays, cause disruption. Just puts people in a bad light. We're still here though. They're still getting on with job. You know, I'm all for transparency. But transparency should come through the proper democratic process, not selective leaks designed to create dramatic headlines. As always, I think I'll wait for the facts rather than these headlines, you know. There's another story that's caught my eye this week, well, today. Yorkshire Post editorial about Doncaster Sheffield Airport. It's an opinion piece. Now, I completely agree that any project involving public money should be scrutinised. It's only right, and it's exactly what should happen. What I don't agree with is the suggestion that public confidence in the airport is ebbing away. They've shown us no evidence for that. From where I'm sitting, I see something very different. You know, the hashtag #SaveDSA community continues to grow every single week. More people are joining the Facebook group, following the updates, watching the videos and getting involved in conversations. If confidence was disappearing, I'd expect to see people drifting away, not more people joining us every week. Are people getting frustrated by how long things are taking? Absolutely. Would we all like to see the lease signed and the next stage of the project moving forward? Of course we would. But frustration and a lack of confidence are two completely different things. And while the lease negotiations continue, we still see new staff being recruited, new equipment arriving, infrastructure improvements taking place, businesses engaging with supply chain opportunities, aircraft movements returning to the airport, and continued work with the Civil Aviation Authority. And to me, those aren't the signs of a project that's standing still. As I've just mentioned, the headline read DSA running out of money. It's important to keep that in context, because that's the thing that's missing if you're just getting leaked information. Context. The business plan has always included a further funding milestone, subject to agreed conditions being met. Now that's very different from suggesting the airport is suddenly going to run out of money, or that the reopening is about to collapse. As many of you know, I've always tried to keep the hashtag SaveDSA campaign balanced. I'll celebrate the good news when it's deserved. I'll also ask awkward questions when they need asking. And that's exactly what I've done or tried to do over the last 4 years. And it's exactly what I'll continue to do. But let's keep asking sensible questions. Let's keep holding them to account. Let's also stick to the facts rather than assumptions and headlines. Because Doncaster Sheffield Airport is simply too important to our region for speculation or opinions to overshadow the progress that's already been made. We're still here. There's been quite a few delays, but we're still here. And the officers at the council and the people that have been employed at Fly Doncaster are still working to get the airport open. As always, as soon as I know any more, you'll know more. Excuse me. Right then, so let's look at Doncaster. Well, I normally do this on a Friday, so I'm not announcing what's going to happen tomorrow. It's more a report on what's happened today. So if you were heading into Doncaster this weekend, along with the artwork at Doncaster Sheffield Airport, right up our street brought more of the project into the town centre, which was Marketplace. It was taking over the windows at Primark. And before anyone comments, other budget clothing shops are available. This lunchtime, did anyone keep an eye on the skies for the military flypast that was Castle Park? For the rugby fans, who went to Castle Park, the home of the Doncaster Knights? Military versus Cancer Armed Forces Day rugby event brought together the UK's Armed Forces rugby teams and the North Select 15 for a full day rugby. Got men's, women's and under 23 fixtures throughout the day. More importantly, that was about raising money for Military versus Cancer, supporting serving personnel, veterans and their families affected by cancer. We met some of these people a few months ago down at the airport. They were doing some filming and with the Vulcan. We had a chat, and they had a cannon and a trailer, and they were dragging it from one end of the country to the other. Great team of lads. They managed that, raised a load of money. Let's hope they've done the same today. And of course, Doncaster councillors, Labour versus Reform. Congratulations to everyone involved in that charity five-a-side football match between the two groups of councillors. Now that was in aid of a Doncaster charity Mental Health Football Club, CIC. The match finished at 7 each, 7 all. So no real winners. Well, the real winners were the charity, which this match raised over £12,000. The original target was 1,000, so they smashed that. And whatever your political views, it was great to see the councillors from different parties putting politics to one side and working together, raising money for a fantastic local organisation that does so much to support people's mental health through football. Personally, I'd like to say well done to everyone who took part, donated and supported the event. I think it's brilliant. Now, whatever you've been doing this weekend, enjoy yourselves. Support local events if you can. Support local businesses if you can. You know, go to Doncaster Market, go to Town Centre, have a walk around French Gate. You know, we need to support local businesses. Hopefully weather's going to be a bit nicer tomorrow. You know, before I go, if you've enjoyed these updates I've started doing, please give the video a like. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It really does make a difference. Every like, every comment, every subscription helps the channel continue to grow and helps me keep producing these weekly updates. The garage videos, the car reviews, the Doncaster and Doncaster Sheffield Airport news and updates. If there's something you'd like me to cover in a future video, let me know in the comments below. I do read them. And as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for your continued support. Have a fantastic weekend. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.